Welcome to 365 Christian Men, where every day we aim to inspire and encourage with real-life stories about men. October 9th, John Peters. John is a successful entrepreneur who has built and sold multiple businesses. Every one of his businesses is started with one idea in mind: sell it. In 2018, he sold one of the largest service companies in the world, so you know he has tasted and experienced success. And that's not just in the US, but globally. With a handpicked team, John also invests on other continents. The goal is to provide funding for training and mentoring of Christian entrepreneurs. John has helped fund building projects in the Middle East and Asia that are having a global impact, reaching tens of thousands. His vision for God's purposes became global and far-reaching only after he was challenged by God's principles for finances. Having already learned some hard lessons on selfish and self-centered success, John was ready to surrender. Here is his candid admission.
Amassing wealth can enslave a man, but using wealth based on God's principles can give purpose to a man's life. At 28, John had a high-finance job, a midtown Manhattan apartment, and a family, complete with a nanny. But when he and his wife were expecting their third child, John was working 70-hour weeks. Each time John left for a business trip, their son began to stutter. John loved his family and wanted more family time. So they moved out of the city and bought a growing equipment rental company. John could grow a business and build a family life. He was capable, smart, and determined. But while John sometimes prayed and his family did attend church, he never invited God into his business plan. A year and a half later, with an expanding company in need of ongoing investment, John cashed out his retirement and home equity and was in debt more than $1 million. 3 months behind on his mortgage payment, he had little income. Since John managed the household finances, he did not tell his wife. He shielded her to protect her. He would carry the stress alone. He was in control. One Wednesday night during a church service, a visiting missionary told how he had struggled, especially when money was tight, to give tithes and offerings to God. But he gave, and God consistently provided for his needs. Everything belonged to God, and money given for God's purposes made a difference in the world. John had been raised to give a portion of his income to God, but he had not tithed in years. Money was a mirror for what was going on in my heart, John said. In my pride, I wanted to be more successful because of me. His finances reflected his need for control. On Thursday, while John was at work, his pregnant wife phoned. She was crying. While grocery shopping with the 3 children, all 4 of her credit cards were declined. John reeled. He had told himself everything was okay. They were building equity. He could handle it. But now, the person he loved most could not even buy groceries. John was out of options. On Friday, John prayed, "I've been trying to do this myself. I thought I was smart enough, but I give up." In his wallet was $300 for car insurance. If he had been tithing, it was about the amount John would have given that month. John decided to give it to God. "I'm going to let you figure this out," he prayed. On Sunday, John gave all his cash. It was his way of saying God was in charge. On Monday morning, a man who had found John's company on the internet contacted him. When a deal had fallen through, the man was stuck with 1,000 units of used specialty equipment. Desperate to sell, the man offered them at a low price. John, who had always bought new, usually paid 10 times the amount. He had no idea this small niche existed. God had brought an opportunity that changed everything. Excited, John borrowed the money from his parents and purchased the equipment. In that market, his company became almost the only buyer of used equipment, and he never bought new again. Though the company's rental revenue per unit remained about the same, costs decreased by 92%. So as John's business grew, his finances quickly recovered. 16 years later, when the business sold for a significant profit, it had locations in 21 U.S. cities. Sales had increased by 27 times. John had not created wealth on his own. God had given him great opportunities. God tells us in Luke 12:48, "For everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required." Financial obedience to God became his heartbeat. His family enjoyed wealth, and the wealth allowed them to give much. After the family spent 3 weeks with missionaries in the Philippines, they embraced a specific purpose: to equip and encourage missionaries. When John started his first business, he had worked for his own glory. But now, he says, God gets the glory because without him, we would have failed. If you hold a mirror to your finances, what do you see? Do you trust God with your finances, or are you in control? Today, what would it take for you to trust God and give him control of your finances? Amassing wealth can enslave a man, but using wealth based on God's principles can give purpose to a man's life.
Thank you for listening to today's story. Every day of the year, our hope is to inspire you with real-life stories of faithful men who have gone before us. For today's story, we have a free one-page group discussion sheet available on our website. Please join us tomorrow for another story at 365christianmen.com.